What's up, y'all? I'm here with the one and only Tyler Kostelny. TK, many of you have seen him at least on the leaderboards, but we are here in Utah. We've flown TK out. He is Sunder's champion of the month of last month. He's currently at 52 deals on the quarter. And we just talked about this, but he's just a bit over $500,000 in generated commissions in the last 5 months, which is extremely impressive. So I wanted to start this call and give TK his flowers. He's crushing it for Revo. He's crushing it for Sunder. And now he's crushing it for SunPower. So he is literally moving a stock on the public stock exchange, I think, with what he's been doing out there.
Crazy time we're in. Crazy time to be here, the day of. So yeah. It's very, very exciting. But yes, thank you. Thank you for the intro. Obviously, would love to give my props to Sunder. Without your help, Corey, I would not be here, obviously, and all the way up to Max and Eric. They've been phenomenal in helping me out here and kind of all the way down to our team in Buffalo. So with that, I'm just going to be talking about how to establish a new market and how we've been very effective in Buffalo. And obviously with our blitz model that we're going to be kind of picking up into the winter time when, as most of you do know, we can't really be knocking in Buffalo when we get the lake effect snow. So with that, we'll get started. And, after this, we'll leave it open to questions. If anyone has anything they want to ask me specifically or Corey specifically and kind of how we've run things and how it's worked for us, we'll do that at the end. So with that being said, we'll get started and we'll talk about the few points that make establishing a new market very successful. Okay.
TK, I'll go ahead and segue into that first bullet point that you have here, which is self-belief and self-confidence. As we all know, we're in an industry it's a very difficult industry, door to door. It's a very difficult job to be really successful in. You found a way to be extremely successful. Self-belief and confidence is at the heart, I feel, of success. I'd love to ask, what are some things for those watching today, for the individuals needing more self-confidence and self-belief? What are some things that we could do as individuals today to help that self-belief?
The biggest thing is creating an environment outside of the workspace, okay? Whether that be going to work out every day, kind of putting yourself on a time schedule of getting things done. If you don't do that, if you're going to be unmotivated outside of work, you're not going to be motivated and have the confidence inside of work. And obviously, going back to what you said and how important that is, if you're not confident in a home and if you're not confident in selling your product, why should a homeowner be confident in you? Why should they have the belief in you that, hey, this is the person I want to trust with this? Why would I want to buy from this guy if he's not even showing that he believes in himself or believes in the product he's selling? So yes, I believe that's something that I've picked up over the past couple of years is knowing that, hey, I'm very good at what I do. I like to tell people all the time, we sell a product that genuinely makes a lot of sense, right? We're not selling snake oil. We're not selling Cutco knives, right? What we're doing is actually helping out homeowners. They're saving a ton of money. It's good for the environment. There's so many pros to this that you got to be passionate about what you do. Because if you're not passionate about what you do, there's no reason for the homeowner to be passionate about it themselves. Okay.
Yeah, that's great insight. I'm sitting over here thinking about that confidence that you're talking about. I know I've been in this industry forever, so I've had a lot of time to develop that confidence. This is year 17 for me. You've been in this industry for just over a year, and you've produced at a really high level. I'd love to know, what is it that someone can do that maybe doesn't have years of experience in the industry to gain that self-belief that you're talking about?
That's a good question. Again, you got to find that from outside of the workspace, whether that be in my case, I love to work out. So I'm on a time schedule every single day when I go to the gym at noon, as long as I have no other appointment or any other ties to that time frame. I go to the gym. I work out. I set time aside to read during the day now. So those are two specific examples that, for me, they worked for me to kind of grow and learn that, hey, I need to work on this and I need to take this time to really work on myself. Because when you take time to work on yourself outside of the workspace, that will transition into the workspace, okay? And that will become evident. I know we all go through the roller coaster. We've all been through it. There's going to be rough days, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I still don't have rough days where, I don't even want to think about solar. But it's understanding that you got to take it day by day, stay habitual with what you're doing, and everything will work itself out. And with that, your attitude will improve, and homeowners and customers will notice that.
That's great. That's great. So just to kind of echo what you're saying here, you're not necessarily finding all of that confidence within the job, but at the heart of the confidence that you have while you're out working, it's really coming from that feeding your foundation outside of your work.
Absolutely. You got to be able to disconnect the work and the life, right? You can't always be taking your work into your life because it's going to consume you. You're going to go home and you're going to put your head on your pillow and you're not going to be always satisfied. So being able to disconnect from work and life is super, super important. But having that strong bond in what you're doing outside of work will always transition into the workspace. That's the biggest thing that I have found in my self-confidence is being able to, put the phone down, put the iPad down and reset and go into the next day with a fresh mindset.
That's great. That's great. Anyone that's worked with me knows that I'm also a big believer in that. Feed your foundation. I like to kind of break it up and recommend that individuals kind of focus on feeding each aspect of their foundation every single day. So emotionally, physically, psychologically, reading a book, like you said, going to the gym, feeding your physical, your emotional, taking a hike, reading your scriptures, doing something for yourself spiritually, finding a way to feed your foundation every single day. And it's obvious that has done an effective job for you in helping you be extremely consistent. Yeah. The second thing you want to talk about today is time efficiency. Obviously, all of us are operating under the same time clock. Each of us has 24 hours in a day, whether you're Oprah or Jeff Bezos, doesn't matter who you are. We all have the same amount of time in a day. I've personally found that top reps are really, really good at managing their time. So I love that you're going to talk about this. What are some things that you've learned that you want to highlight for Sunder today that have helped you be efficient with your time?
Yeah, and I'll kind of dive back a little bit onto what I just talked about. I know I mentioned on being able to put the phone down, put the iPad down, and put your head on that pillow and kind of give the night a rest. That's a little bit hypocritical of me, definitely. And the reason for that being is that we obviously work in an industry where it can be very hard to do that. We've all been a victim of having a customer reach out very, very late at night. So I've learned over just the past few months of how important, again, it is to be habitual with a structure. So waking up, setting this time aside to doing project management, setting this time aside to making sure meetings and any sort of Zoom calls are completed, and setting this time aside to making sure you're maximizing your appointments. So something that I felt like I've done very well this year with my team in Buffalo is making sure we have a proper calendar in place and knowing when we have certain appointments in place, and understanding that, hey, if we're going to have one appointment 30 minutes away from another one, then we have to make sure we set realistic expectations with the homeowner that we might be a little bit late to their appointment. And I think that goes a long way, and it goes into my next point of being punctual and being on time, being punctual, is that if you're going to set realistic expectations with your homeowners, that will resonate with them, okay? If you're showing up 30 minutes late to every single appointment and the homeowner's unaware of that, it's going to show them that you don't care as much, okay? If you're not even going to at least reach out and let them know that you're going to be late. So we try not to let that happen in the first place, and that comes down to having a good structure in place with our team and knowing when we want to be setting appointments, when I can take appointments, and I feel like we did a really good job this year with that.
That's great. I feel like a lot of our industry tends to fly by the seat of their pants. Wake up in the morning at whatever time, maybe hit the gym, have some breakfast, and you kind of get out when you feel like you're supposed to hit the doors and just kind of go with the flow. But it sounds like you're very calendared. It sounds like communication's at the heart of what you and your team do. Communicating to customers, knowing where reps are, what your day is going to look like every day. And it sounds like that's a huge contributor as to how you can go out and do 52 deals so far in the quarter. So
yeah,
that's great advice.
Yeah, and something that my team does specifically is we have a handful of different chats that we use. So we have one specific chat to utilize confirmed appointments. So what I have all my guys do is I make sure they confirm appointments the day of, and I make sure they have a bill in place because we don't want to be wasting an hour and a half to 2 hour time slot to go to an appointment that we don't even know if they're going to be there. We don't even know if they're going to have a bill or if they could even find a bill, or we don't even know how long they've been in the home. So what we want to do is we want to know we have A+ appointments every time we go to a home, because every door knock will lead to a good appointment. A good appointment will lead to a good sit, and a good sit will always lead to a closed deal. Okay.
That makes a ton of
And
sense.
it just carries on. So if you're consistently filling up your calendar with not so great appointments, you are essentially throwing away a portion of your day. You're not being as time efficient as you can be by doing that. So I think that was the most important move we made this year, is being able to confirm appointments, because when you're able to do so, more times than not, those people will end up closing.
What would you say to those that say if you give a call or a text to a homeowner the day of, it's giving them an out? What would you say to them that think that maybe it's not a good idea to text the appointments the day of?
Yeah.
It sounds like you do that every time and every day you have an appointment to ensure quality appointments.
Yeah.
Of course, there are upsides and downsides to doing that, but what would your advice be on that?
There absolutely is, because yes, I'm not going to say there hasn't been times where reaching out to a homeowner to remind them of their appointment, didn't give them an out, right? Understanding the Buffalo market, though, and me understanding that for Buffalo, we only have 5 or 6 months of good weather throughout the year. So for a lot of families in Buffalo, they're doing their kids' sports. They're doing this, they're doing that all throughout the summer. So when they create appointments a week out, they might have forgot, oh, shoot, you know what? I have little Timmy's soccer game tonight. I actually can't be there. So understanding that and understanding the importance of confirming those appointments, we have found that more times than not, the people that genuinely wanted to stick and take a look at it, they'll reschedule and find an actual good time that will work for them. So we didn't run into it too much where people would just legitimately cancel their appointments. It was more so of a reschedule, finding a better time to do it. And again, I think that alone kind of captures a real interest in what we're doing here. And it creates an attraction in someone wanting to take a look at solar. And that will always lead to a good sit. That will always lead to a quality close, and in turn will lead to an install.
That's really good advice. So that there is maybe once in a while an appointment that will cancel because you reached out ahead of time. But the benefit of doing that, the benefit of the quality of the appointment, knowing that you're not going to be out there wasting your time, all the upside definitely outweighs the downside.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and again, it could totally change depending on the market. I know some other markets it's a little bit different. Just in our blitz model, in other markets we won't reach out to them. For example, Atlanta, we won't do that. But I think it's a very niche thing with Buffalo, just given the time frame that we have in the summertime and just understanding people's lives and their schedules throughout the summer. I thought it was definitely a smart way to go about it for sure.
Great. So maybe a little bit market specific, but I think those are some real positive highlights and benefits to reaching out and being extra efficient with your day.
100%. Absolutely.
Great.
Cool.
So TK, you're from Buffalo. It's an important, not just city to you, it's an important community to you. I know you've gotten a lot of your business on referrals. So the third topic that you want to talk about today is relationship building, rapport building with your customers. I'd love to ask, how important is this to you? How important should this be to Sunder Nation? And what are some things that you'd, I guess, recommend, some take-homes for the group today as to how important and vital relationship building is in our jobs?
Yeah, and this is a key point that I really didn't learn the importance of until very recently with my pipeline growing. But as I told you earlier today, Buffalo is more so a community than it is a city. Like, everyone's very tight knit. Everybody knows each other. That's kind of the saying over there in Buffalo. Everyone knows everyone, right? So understanding that you creating a good environment and a good experience for the customer will absolutely go a long way. It will benefit you and them 100%. Okay. It's not a hard thing to do. It really comes down to being human, not being a salesman. Don't go into a home with commission breath thinking, hey, this is someone I'm going to make money off of. You want to be thinking, hey, this is someone that I'm going to help out. Because if you think like that, the money will come for yourself. Okay. Creating a connection with the customer, not only until the panels go up, but after the panels go up, that is one of the most utmost important things that I have learned, because that goes a long way. Again, you create a good environment for everybody. Customer satisfaction is there, and it will only lead to more success for yourself.
That's great. Yeah, I think, and I say this pretty frequently, but this is a product that our customers are going to have for the rest of their time in their homes. This isn't like DirecTV or internet, something that they can switch in a couple of years. This is a long-term product. This is an important product, and it's important to take care of our customers. And when you do, like you say, the byproduct of that is them reaching out to their network, their friends, and referring them to you. And I think you've been an excellent example of doing business the right way, and it's evident by how many referrals that you get. So tell us more about I guess your business. What would you say? What percentage of your business is coming from door knocks? What percentage is coming from referrals? And any additional thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say early on in the year, right, a big portion of our sales came from door knocking and getting the word out there. I've done some personal advertising on Facebook. I found that to be very successful in an area where not only is Buffalo a very soft door knocking market, they've also been feeling the pain. High rate increases for both utility companies we have there. So homeowners are getting to the point where they really can't afford these electric bills that they're seeing. So again, going to the home with the idea that you're there to help them, you're not there to sell them something, will go a long way, 100%. And that's what I feel like our team has done this year. And with that, when you give off that impression to a homeowner, you will build trust with them. That's the biggest thing. At the end of the day, yes, we are considered salesmen. There's a level of trust that you need to gain from that homeowner, and it's not always easy. But being human, being able to relate to them outside of work, talking about whatever it is, that goes a long way in that trust game, right? And again, that will only lead to more referrals to where now, I'm getting 4 or 5 people texting me every single week saying, hey, XYZ mentioned how this works. I'm really interested in looking at this. And these are people that I would never come across door knocking. They're people off the beaten path. They're people 2 hours away in the state, okay? So that factor of it, and again, treating this more than a sale, being human with these homeowners, it will treat you in the long run. It will treat them in the long run. As you said, this is a big project. We could be showing them, a third of what they're paying right now for their utility bill. But yes, these panels are going to be up there for 25 plus years realistically. So you have to understand that. You can't get frustrated if you sit down with them twice and they still want to think about it and ask you some questions. You got to see their point of view as well. You have to be understanding. You have to know, hey, this is a big project. This might not be for everybody. And don't leave a home thinking, wow, I'm pissed off that they did not do this, right? It's not for everybody, and it won't always be for everybody, right? But the more you understand the customer's point of view and level with them, that will only lead to more success for yourself.
Amen. I think that's a great point that you make, TK. The economics might be a no-brainer, but because it is such a longer-term decision, it's a fixture on their home forever. Like it might be that that's holding them back. So, and I think that just lends itself well to what we're talking about, which is being able to build rapport and build trust and confidence that this is a good decision for them.
Yeah.
So what are some things, as we kind of button up this topic, what are some things in that first, I know of course throughout the sale, we're of course building that rapport. But mostly when we think of rapport building, we're thinking about that first 10 or 15 minutes in the home when you're establishing that relationship. What are some things maybe that you say or do in that first 10 minutes that you think Sunder Nation could go apply to their sales today?
That's a good question. It definitely varies per home, right? In my community, it's always going to be a few different things, whether it's talking about the Bills, right? Everyone can relate. If you're a Bills fan in Buffalo, everyone can relate to the same things.
So finding that common ground.
Find that common ground, yes. That goes a long way. And kind of getting that sales barrier out of the way very early on. Being able to connect and say, hey, I'm a human. I'm born and raised here. I grew up in Springville, New York. And that alone will kind of bring down that sales barrier where you can have just a normal human conversation about like why I'm here. Okay, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to necessarily just sell you something. I want to help you. And just kind of building that connection with the customer is important. But again, there's no specific thing to go in and say when you get inside, because that's always going to feel forced. You don't want to force rapport because the homeowner's going to sense that. They're going to sniff that out. They're going to say, this guy's just in here to try to say something nice to me so he can sell me something. So You got to find whatever it is. You got to find it within yourself to figure out, hey, what can I connect with this homeowner about? It doesn't have to be about a sports team. It could be where you grew up, where you know family, etc. So
You were saying, sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
earlier you were telling me you consider yourself more an educator than you do a salesman, and
Yeah.
that's something sometimes that you even mention in the home. I'd love for you to touch on that.
yeah, I like to tell homeowners all the time, like at the end of the day, I know you look at me as a salesman, but I don't have to necessarily sell you anything. My job is to show you how this works. I'm not here to convince you. The program, the project sells itself, right? It really comes down to, is this going to make sense for you in your home, and are you going to qualify for this? So, at this point in my career, being here for just over a year now, I know it doesn't seem like long. It definitely feels like I've been here for longer. That's the biggest thing I've learned, is going into a home and having that mindset of, hey, I just want to go in and help this homeowner. I know this will help the homeowner. And just kind of prefacing all of their questions, going through all of their concerns. At the end of the day, the rest will work itself out.
I just want to make this point before we finish here. We're in Utah. We're in front of a camera. We're doing a training. We're not in front of a customer. But just sitting across from you, I can feel your sincerity. I can feel that you really actually do care about your product and the people you sit in front of. And when you do, you don't have to apply all these sales tactics that you learn from Jordan Belfort or all these places. Of course, there's good principles that we learn from sales courses, etc. But genuinely, if you walk into the home, you care about them, you care about your product, you can look in the homeowner's eyes and say, I don't want you to go solar just to go solar. I'm not going to sell you on this product. We're going to see if it makes sense for your home. And if it does, you're going to be jumping for joy. And I'm just here to educate you. Right.
Absolutely. There's
That's
always somebody
huge.
else that it'll make sense for. 100%.
That's great. I love
Yep.
that. TK, thank you, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of Sunder. Thanks for what you add to Revo all the way around. I think you're a great example of how to really take advantage of the opportunity, and a good example of an integrity-based salesperson. So I just wanted to say thank you. Also, a reminder, Sunder Nation, the entire reason, I know we talked about this at the beginning of the call, the entire reason that TK is here is for a new program that we're starting. So the MVP, the champion of Sunder, every month we're going to be bringing somebody in who is selling well, recruiting, kind of hitting all of the things that we consider to be the MVP of the company. I know TK is shooting for it again. He wants to be here next month. He wants a back-to-back opportunity, but this opportunity is available to all. We still have a few days left in the month. So just get out there, finish out the month strong, and we'd love to have another one of you here. So without further ado, I think Sunder would love to ask you some questions. So we'll go ahead and break into Q&A.